I never thought I'd pin on those eagle,
globe,
and anchor chevrons with a heart full of hate. But that's exactly what I did, right after I discovered my father had swapped my life for his bastard son's without a second thought. The day I shipped out to Paris Island, I whispered a promise to the mirror. I'd come back a Marine, unbreakable, and make him choke on every mocking word he'd spat about my pointless grunt work. And when the truth unraveled like a pulled grenade pin during my homecoming ceremony, the whole town saw him turn the color of fresh blood, saluted by men who'd kill for less, while his empire of lies crumbled under the weight of one final, unforgiving reveal. My name is Genesis Hale, and if you think enlisting in the Marines was my way of rebelling against a silver spoon upbringing, you'd only be half right. The other half? It's buried in a secret so rotten it could poison the Mississippi. Growing up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, that humid armpit of the South where the air smells like fried catfish and broken dreams, my father,
Harlan Hale, was king.
Not the benevolent kind,
either.
He owned Hale Dynamics, a defense contracting firm that slurped up Pentagon dollars like moonshine at a tailgate. Mansions in the Garden District, a yacht docked on Lake Pontchartrain, and enough lobbyists on speed dial to rewrite the Constitution if it suited him. To the world, he was the all-American success story, war hero from Nam turned capitalist crusader.
To me,
he was the architect of my stolen soul. It started when I was 6. Or so. I pieced it together years later from yellowed hospital records and a diary singed at the edges from some half-assed cover-up fire. Mom, God rest her fragile heart, died giving birth to twins. Me and my brother, or that's the fairy tale they fed me. Truth is, the boy who grew up calling himself my twin, Elias, wasn't mine at all. Harlan had a side piece, a lobbyist from D.C., with more curves than ethics, and she'd popped out a son the same week Mom bled out on the delivery table. Hospital mix-up? Bullshit. Harlan paid off the staff,
swapped the tags,
and buried the evidence deeper than Jimmy Hoffa. Elias got the Hale name, the trust fund, the golden path to West Point. I got the scraps, a name pulled from some Bible verse Mom loved, and a lifetime of being the spare tire daughter who could never quite measure up. He never said it outright. Not until I was 18 and stupid enough to announce my enlistment over crawfish etouffee at one of his donor dinners. Marines? Jesus. Jenny. That's for the riffraff, the ones who couldn't hack a real degree. His laugh boomed like artillery fire, drawing chuckles from the suits around the table. They were toasting his latest no-bid contract for drone tech, the kind that rains hell from 30,000 feet without a pilot getting their hands dirty. I sat there, fork midway to my mouth, feeling the heat crawl up my neck like fire ants. Elias, smug as ever in his ROTC polo, chimed in, "Sis,
come on.
Dad's right. Why slum it when you couldn't turn at the firm? Learn how winners play the game. Winners." That's what Harlan always preached. Win at all costs, because the world's a zero-sum slaughterhouse. But I knew the cost. I'd paid it young. At 14, Elias got pinched for boosting Harlan's vintage Mustang joyride that ended in a ditch off I-10, high on Adderall swiped from a frat party. Cops came calling, and Harlan, sweating through his Brooks Brothers shirt, cornered me in the study. "Jenny, baby, you're the steady one. Elias is fragile. Family sticks together, right?
Say it was you.
Borrowed the keys for a dare. I'll make it disappear. I did it. Lied to the detectives. Took the juvenile record that dogged my college apps like a bad rash. Community service at a VFW hall, where old jarheads in faded tattoos spun yarns about Key-san and taught me to salute without flinching. Harlan's gratitude? A pat on the head and a new iPhone. Elias got a slap on the wrist and a summer in Europe. That was the first fracture. The betrayal that festered like an untreated wound in boot camp sand. But the real gut punch came senior year of high school, when I found the diary in Mom's old hope chest. Tucked between lace doilies and faded Polaroids was her scrawl. Harlan confessed tonight. The boy isn't ours. Swapped at birth to hide his sin. God forgive me for loving the lie. Pages torn. Ink smeared. But the truth leaped out like a bayonet thrust. I confronted him that night, rain hammering the plantation shutters like God's own judgment. You stole my life.
Dad.
For what? To prop up your perfect heir?
He didn't deny it.
Just poured another scotch. Eyes cold as gator hide. Life's a swap meet.
Jenny.
You got the hail fire in you. Elias is soft. Like his mother. This way, we all win. You think I'd let some DC horse spawn inherit my legacy?
Win.
There it was again. But in his world, winning meant me gumming the gears. Overlooked for promotions at the firm. Dismissed as the girl in boardrooms. While Elias coasted on nepotism rails. The crime I bore? Not just the car theft rap. But the deeper one, living as the imposter in my own skin. Carrying the weight of his infidelity like original sin. And the secret? It chained me, whispering that I wasn't enough. That my blood wasn't blue enough for the Hale crest. So I enlisted. Not for glory or apple pie patriotism, fuck that noise. For revenge. Cold and calculated as a sniper's breath. Paris Island was hell's own crucible, drill instructors screaming, "Hail, you worthless maggot," while I dropped for push-ups in the Carolina muck. My muscles screaming betrayal. But every blister, every ruck march under 80-pound loads, forged me sharper. I graduated top of my platoon, earned the meritorious promotion to Lance Corporal, and shipped to Camp Pendleton for intel training. Drones. Ironically, Harlan's bread and butter. I learned to dissect satellite feeds, predict enemy moves from pixels. Fitting, since I'd soon turn those skills on the man who'd birthed my rage. Letters home were sparse, laced with barbs. Harlan scrawled back, "Proud of you,
Kiddo."
but real heroes build empires, not dig foxholes." Elias forwarded pics of his Yale keggers. Caption, "Wish you were here, sis." Instead of playing G.I. Jane, I burned them in a platoon bonfire. Ashes scattering like my old illusions. Stateside leave came after 18 months, but I timed it for the one event Harlan couldn't dodge, my high school reunion. Twisted into a Hometown Heroes gala by the local VFW. Baton Rouge Gazette hyped it as a salute to Southern grit, vets, first responders, the works. Harlan was keynote speaker. Naturally, his firm sponsored the damn thing. Elias was MC, schmoozing donors like a used car salesman. I arrived unannounced. Dress blues starched to knife edge. Cover tucked under my arm. The auditorium buzzed with small-town pomp, crepe paper streamers in red, white,
And blue.
a podium flanked by flags drooping in the AC. Harlan spotted me from the wings, his face folding like a bad poker hand. "Jenny? What in God's name?" I cut him off with a crisp salute, holding it until he mumbled one back. Awkward as a debutante in combat boots. Elias, mic in hand, cracked wise. "Ladies and gents, Looks like my sister's gone full Rambo. Careful. Dad might recruit her for the mailroom. Laughter rippled, but I felt the undercurrent shift. Old classmates whispered, vets in the back row nodding approval. I took my seat front and center, directly in Harlan's eye line, as he lumbered to the stage. His speech was vintage Harlan, bootstraps and bayonets. How Hale Dynamics armed the free world against those godless commies 2.0. He name-dropped me once, my daughter, serving with honor, but his eyes skipped past like I was a footnote. The crowd ate it up, applause thundering as he swelled with that messianic grin. Then came the honorees. Elias called names, a cop who'd busted a meth ring, a nurse from the Katrina floods. When he got to me, Lance Corporal Genesis Hale, United States Marine Corps, the room hushed. I rose, measured steps to the stage, every boot heel click echoing my pulse. Harlan extended a hand for the plaque, but I sidestepped,
facing the audience instead.
Thank you, Baton Rouge. But honors aren't for show. They're earned in the dirt, away from the spotlight. Murmurs swelled. I locked eyes with Harlan, his smile cracking like dry clay. Dad taught me that. Win at all costs. Even if it means swapping truths to keep the throne. The mic picked up his sharp intake, gasps from the crowd. Elias fumbled the cue cards, but I pressed on, voice steady as a .50 cal. See, I thought service was about sacrifice. Taking the hit for your squad. Like when I covered for family mistakes, bore the scars so others could shine. Vets leaned forward, sensing the storm. Harlan's face drained to chalk. But I wasn't done. But tonight?
Tonight,
We salute the real heroes, not the ones who build walls with lies, but those who tear them down. Chaos erupted then. Polite at first, claps turning to stomps as gray-haired leathernecks surged to their feet. One by one, they saluted, a Vietnam vet with a Purple Heart pinned crooked, a Gulf War grunt missing half his fingers, even the sheriff who'd booked me all those years ago. The air crackled, a thunderhead of respect Harlan couldn't buy. He stood frozen, plaque limp in his grip, cheeks blooming crimson as the realization hit. His little girl, the swapped spare, had just hijacked his spotlight. Elias bolted backstage, tail between his legs. But that was just intermission. The real payback? It was brewing in a manila envelope I'd mailed to the Gazette that morning. Hospital records, Mom's diary scans, affidavits from the night nurse who'd taken Harlan's bribe and lived with the guilt for decades. By dawn, headlines would scream, Hale air hoax, tycoon swap son for scandal cover-up, his empire teetering. My revenge just warming up. The fallout hit like a Category 5 over the bayou, twisting everything familiar into wreckage. By breakfast, Harlan's phone was a war zone, reporters swarming the gate like gulls on chum. SEC suits sniffing for insider trading ties to his family adjustments. He barricaded in the study, bellowing orders at lackeys who'd suddenly developed amnesia about loyalty. Elias vanished to a safe house in the Hamptons, courtesy of Daddy's black card. Last I heard, he was rage-tweeting from a poolside cabana about fake news ruining lives. Me? I holed up at the VFW, nursing a Bud Light with Pops McGee, the one-legged Korean vet who taught me cribbage and the art of the slow burn. Girl, you lit the fuse, Pops chuckled, prosthetic tapping the bar like Morse code. Harlan's always been a snake in seersucker. Swap thin kids? That's Cain-level sin. I nodded, the weight of it settling like humidity after a squall. Exposing him felt righteous. A purge of the poison he'd injected into our veins. But doubt gnawed, controversial decisions. The kind that keep you up at 3 a.m. staring at water stains on the ceiling. Was I any better? Weaponizing Mom's ghost for my vendetta? The town split like a fault line. Old Money whispered I was an ungrateful bitch, while the working stiffs hailed me as a whistleblower avenger. Protests outside hailed dynamics. Picket signs reading "Blood Money Babies" drew national eyes. CNN helicopters chopping the skyline like vultures. Harlan summoned me 2 days in, voice crackling over the landline like bad radio static. "Jenny, get your ass home. We need to talk strategy." Strategy. As if this were a boardroom skirmish, not the implosion of his moral universe. I went, blues swapped for civvies, faded Levi's and a Saints hoodie, to remind him I wasn't his pawn anymore. The mansion reeked of desperation, takeout boxes piled like sandbags. His eyes bloodshot from scotch and sleepless audits. He paced the Persian rug, gesturing wild at blueprints of drone prototypes. "This hits the fan, kid. We're all underwater. Elias can't handle the scrutiny. He'll crack. Spill everything. You want that on your conscience." Conscience. The word hung like smoke from a suppressed round. He was good. Twisting the knife back on me. "You mean like you twisted Mom's last breath to hide her affair? Or when you let me rot with that juvie stain so you're fragile, air could play Prince?" His face tightened, that vein in his temple pulsing like a tripwire. "That was protection, Jenny. Hard choices for the greater good. Hail men build legacies. You think I'd let some accident of birth tank it?"
Accident.
There it was. The casual erasure of my existence. But I had my own intel drop, a thumb drive from a PI I'd hired on deployment pay, detailing Harlan's slush fund for the swap, hush money funneled through fake charities, ripe for IRS crucifixion. We circled like boxers in the ring, him jabbing with paternal guilt trips. "I gave you a family, a name," me countering with haymakers of truth. "You gave me chains,
Dad. And now?
I'm cutting them." The decision crystallized then. Controversial as hell. Leak the financials to the feds. Not just expose the swap, but torch the empire built on it. Drones that maimed civilians in Yemen? Contracts greased with swap soul sins? Yeah, I'd burn it down. But mercy's a bitch. I gave him an out. Step down. Confess to Elias. Let him choose his own path. Not your puppet strings. He laughed, bitter as chicory. "You think you're a Marine hero? This is war, Jenny. And wars have casualties." That night, sirens wailed, FBI raiding the offices, agents in windbreakers hauling servers like contraband gators. Harlan lawyered up, spinning yarns of administrative errors, but the evidence stuck like Louisiana mud. Elias surfaced on Fox, teary-eyed. "My sister's confused. PTSD from service." PTSD. The gall. Using my sacrifice as his shield. Social media erupted. Hashtags like Hail Hoax and Marine Betrayed trending from Biloxi to Bakersfield. I went viral too, a clip from the gala. Me saluting amid the standing ovation. Captioned, "When Dad's lies meet Mom's truth." Donations poured into a GoFundMe for vet whistleblowers, enough to buy a shotgun house in Mid-City and start fresh. But revenge isn't a straight shot, it's an ambush in the fog. Harlan countered sly. That cunning fox in tycoon clothing. Whispers reached me via old platoon buddies, anonymous tips to my CO about instability from the family drama. Psych evals flagged to ground my next deployment. He was powerful, All right, golf buddies in the Pentagon, pulling strings like a marionette master. I fought back underground, networking with journalist embeds who'd seen Harlan's tech in action overseas. 1. A chain-smoking cynic named Riley from the Times-Picayune dug deeper. Your old man's not just a cheater. That swap? Tied to a bigger mess, embezzling R&D funds for black market arms deals. Mom's death? Maybe not so natural. The secret within the secret. Mom hadn't just died. She'd been silenced. Riley's source, a retired nurse, claimed Harlan dosed her with something to ease the pain, buying time for the swap. Manslaughter. Covered as complication. The crime I'd borne? Not just lies, but complicity in her murder by blood, raising the wrong son under her roof. Oblivious. Rage boiled over. Decisions teetering on the razor. Go public with the killing angle. Or hold for proof. Controversial as aborting a legacy. But I chose the abyss. Wired Riley the nurse's contact. Then ghosted to a safe spot, a Fleabag motel off Airline Highway, where hookers and truckers swapped stories over lukewarm coffee. Harlan found me there, pounding the door at midnight like Judgment Day. You little fool. The feds are circling. If this blows. Elias takes the fall, too. Rain slicked his hair. Suit rumpled like his facade. I let him in, the room closing like a foxhole. Elias? The golden boy you murdered Mom for? Let him burn.
Dad.
Pay for the throne he never earned. He lunged. Not violent but desperate. Gripping my arms. I did it for us. She was leaving, threatening to expose the affair. The overdose. It was mercy.
Quick.
And you were the gift. Jenny. Strong. Like I needed. Mercy. The word curdled. We grappled then. Not fists but words, him confessing fragments. Me probing like an interrogator at Gitmo. The power dynamic flipped. He begged. I held the line. Confess. Harlan. All of it. Or, I dropped the hammer. Dawn broke gray over the levee as he cracked. Signing a notarized affidavit on motel stationery. Swap details. Fun trails. The syringe in Mom's vein. But his eyes gleamed. That mountebank spark. You think this ends it? You're a Hale. Jenny. Blood calls to blood. I left him there, broken on the sagging bed, and drove to the federal building. Handed over the docs to a stone-faced agent, saluting out of habit. Climax loomed. The press conference, where Harlan would face the music, or so I thought. Elias called as I queued for the chopper back to Pendleton. Sis, don't do this. Dad's got a heart condition. Stress could kill him. Bluff or truth. Controversial choice. Mercy for the monster. Or justice for the ghost. I hung up, boarded the bird. Rotors whipping the past into blur. Pendleton's grind swallowed me whole. Endless briefs on insurgent patterns. Nights blurring into sims where I piloted virtual drones over ghost cities. But the home front festered like an IED wound. Updates trickling via burner apps. Harlan indicted on fraud. Elias flipping states evidence for immunity. The firm carved up by vultures and pinstripes. Tabloids dubbed it the swap scandal, with my face plastered beside Mom's wedding photo, angelic me in blues. Haloed by tragedy. Fan mail piled. Vets calling me sister-in-arms. Activists hailing the takedown of military-industrial rot. Haters too. Daddy's girl gone rogue, but their barbs bounced off scar tissue. Harlan's trial was set for federal court in New Orleans. A circus under the shadow of the Superdome. I testified remotely. Screens flickering like bad karma. Recounting the swap. The cover-ups. Mom's final mercy kill. Jurors, blue-collar types from the Ninth Ward, stared stone-faced as Harlan, gone in off-the-rack suits, played the remorse card. I built an empire for my family, he croaked. Voice gravel from the cells. One mistake snowballed. Mistake. As if trading lives was a fender-bender. His lawyers painted me as the villain. Jilted daughter. PTSD-fueled vendetta. Controversial whispers in the gallery. She profited off his fall. That GoFundMe haul stung, but I stood firm. Revenge wasn't clean, it was a bayonet twist. Guts spilling truth. Elias took the stand day 3, looking like a kicked pup in khakis. Genesis. She was always the strong one. Dad pushed me, but I knew about the swap.
Mom.
I covered 2 falsified docs for the firm. Betrayal's echo, deep as the Atchafalaya. He'd known. Let me shoulder the lies while he surfed the gravy train. Cross-exam shredded him, emails tying him to the black market deals, kickbacks funneled to his study abroad slush. The courtroom gasped as exhibits flashed, wire transfers to Cayman shells. Signed Yates. Jury ate it up. Harlan's empire, built on swapped sins, collapsed in pixels.
But the twist?
It detonated on closing arguments. Harlan's ace in the hole. His counsel called a surprise witness, Dr. Evelyn Voss, the OBGYN from that fateful night. White-haired, perched like a hawk on the stand, she testified. No swap occurred. Harlan Hale is the father of both children. The diary was a forgery, Genesis's hand, planted for drama. My blood iced. Forgery? I'd held those pages. Felt Mom's tremor in the ink. Voss produced lab reports, DNA matches, pristine as a new M4. The real secret? Harlan discovered an affair, Genesis's mother with my husband, the anesthesiologist. To protect the family image, he claimed a swap, buried the infidelity. But blood don't lie. The room spun, objections flying like spent brass. Me? Affairs spawn?
Mom.
The saint? Cuckolding Harlan? It inverted everything. The betrayal wasn't his alone, but a tangled knot of lust and lies.
Revengeantum.
Taken down an empire for a half-truth. Harlan's eyes met mine across the feed. Not triumphant but pitying. See, Jenny, we all swap pieces to survive. Elias corroborated. Tear-streaked, Dad covered for Mom's shame. I knew, kept quiet to keep peace. The jury bought it, acquittal on major counts, misdemeanor plea for the funds. Harlan walked, diminished but free, firm remnants snapped up by rivals. I shipped out to Afghanistan days later. Dust devils swirling Kandahar like my thoughts. The twist gnawed. Was I the villain? Dramatic avenger torching innocence? Or hero? Exposing rot despite the blur? Letters from Baton Rouge trickled. Pops. Truth's a bayou.
Girl. Muddy.
But it flows. A check from the settlement. Harlan's conscience money and sign note. Fight smart, not hard. Love. Dad. Love. The debatable end, did I win? Or just swap one cage for desert sand? Climax faded to after-action haze. I saluted the horizon. Eagle on my chest glinting false dawn. Back stateside 2 years on. The gala encore, another hero's night, me as keynote. Crowd hushed as I took the stage. Blues faded but fierce. Harlan sat front row. Grayer. Alone, Elias in rehab. Firm a memory. I spoke of swaps. Not bodies but souls. We trade truths for comfort. Bear crimes for kin.
But honor?
That's non-negotiable. Vets rose. Salutes rippling like bayou waves. Harlan stood last. Hand to brow. Face flushing not red but rose, regret's tint. Did he redeem?
Nah.
But in that moment, under the lights, we connected. Fractured family, forged in fire. Revenge's end? Debatable as Delta fog. I drive the bayous now. A civilian contractor. Ghosts riding shotgun. Happy? In scars.
Yeah.
Tragic? If you buy bloodlines over choices. Either way, I sleep sound, anchor heavy on my shelf. Semper Fi. Swaps be damned.